by clause F of the last sentence of this paragraph, the term includes any creditor who, in the process of collecting his own debt, uses any name other than his own, which would indicate that a third person is collecting or attempting to collect such debts. Let me explain this last part. You got Wells Fargo, right? And you owe them some money. But their debt collection department, say you pass due, calls you. That is a third-party debt collector by this definition. Yeah, the Wells Fargo is the creditor, but Wells Fargo default collections department is considered a third-party debt collector under this rule. Because what they do, the first thing they do, this is an attempt to collect the debt, and anything that when they say that statement, they have to say that because they're letting you know that that arm of the company is a third-party debt collection department. So yes, you could do the same methods to people you've actually had bills with, because this is saying that they have to follow the rules. So let's go down to communication. So what can a debt collector do as far as communicating with you? Communication with the consumer generally. Without the prior consent of the consumer given directly to the debt collector or the express permission of a court of competent jurisdiction, a debt collector may not communicate with the consumer in connection with the collection of any debt. It says right here, you have to give them express permission, either verbal or written. A lot of times in the new loan documents, they'll have something. Can we contact you by email? Can we contact you in writing? What is your preferred method of communication? So they get that agreement up front. But once it passes off to a debt collector, you don't have an agreement with that debt collector to communicate with you. So the moment he calls you, a debt collector calls you, they start owing you some money for that, just that initial contact or that initial letter in the mail. Okay, so the links, I have the link for this in the in these slides. You guys will get these slides when I'm at the end, and plus you'll get the template of the one letter that I used to shut down about $90,000 worth of loans, and they put on the credit report, paid in full. So, and they didn't have to pay a dime. So there you go with that. So here's any questions about debt collectors? Any? No questions? All right, good. Let me move on. All right, so first, you need to identify who the debt collector is for your student loans. That means go into your credit report and see what it actually says. Pull your credit report. I think it's annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free credit report from all 3 credit bureaus. You pull that and you look at who is on there, because you're going to have to write a letter to them, right? A lot of times, most student loans is being collected by one entity. How many people got more than one servicer trying to collect on them? Anybody? Nobody's got more than one?
I only have one.
Usually it's only one. What's the name of that debt collector?
Navient.
Oh yeah, Navient. That's the one I shut down, and I shut down Fed Loan. Nelnet is they're a little hard-headed. So you're gonna work with them. All right. So you send a third-party debt collector a notice regarding this life that we're in is a sleep phase. This is gotta make the commitment. And once you make the commitment, guess what? The spiritual family will show up. For the show, it's your host Hakeem L here on Hindsight Radio. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday. I all right. All right. I don't know what's going on. Every time I move something over there, it acts up. But I know y'all can hear me. So I didn't do any cooking out yesterday, but I did some cooking out today. You know, I didn't have time to mess with that grill yesterday, but I messed with it today. Made some ribs, some chicken, some corn. What else I made? I made one more thing. Hamburgers. The typical stuff. I made my ribs a little bit different this time. I baked them first, then put them on the grill. Came out really well. I got into watching these cooking shows and I saw that method. So I said, let me try it. It came out pretty good. If I left it on maybe 10 minutes more, 10, 15 minutes more, it would have been perfect. It was almost perfect. It would have been perfect. This is just orange juice, y'all. So how y'all doing out there? Happy Wednesday, Karen. I know y'all saw the flyer about the seminar coming up on the 22nd and the 23rd. I hope y'all can attend. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Give me a second. I'm just typing some stuff. Yeah, I hope y'all can show up. Atlanta. Where's the flyer? Hang on. Let me put the flyer up. Let me put the flyer up. It is at 1163 West Peachtree Street, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia, 30309. I hope to see you guys there. It's gonna be me. I'll be there. Al Bear be there. He's the tax 1041 expert. I expect some what do you call spies, competition, whatever, to show up. I don't have competition really. Let me move this off. I agree with KRS-One. If you watch that video, I didn't play the other part of the video. Like I played in my show yesterday. Then they got this copyright thing because I played a part of it. It wasn't no big deal, but he talked about the best way to compete is not to compete. And I agree with that. What are you competing for? There's no competition. We work together. We work and we build together. We don't need to compete. That's a westernized idea, to compete, and they create all these competition and all of these sports. Who's better than this? Do y'all realize all of that stuff is created to distract you from how you're really supposed to be working? Supposed to work together as a family, a united family, a tribe. And on a deeper esoterical level, there's no competition as far as you're concerned. You're an individual. You are unique. So no one can compete or keep up with you because you're different. You're your own being. So you don't have to, I don't have to compete. I'm me. I'm unique. So there is no one else like me. So what am I competing for? Because I have my own special, unique characteristics about myself that no one else has. Just like yourself, you have your own special characteristics that no one else has. So there is no competition. The best way to compete is not to compete at all. That's exactly what he said, and I agree. Like I teach a lot of stuff, and sometimes I hold back stuff because I don't want it out there that soon. But I don't really worry too much about people taking my information, plagiarizing it, or doing whatever, because guess what? There's no competition. The download from my higher self, from my ancestors, came to me, especially to me, to overstand the material. So I've actually seen people steal my stuff and try to teach it, and they couldn't get it. Even the people will say, I heard what he said, but it just didn't ring a bell. And then what'll happen is people will take the stuff and they'll teach it somewhere else, and somehow that person gets to me and hear me talk about that same topic, and they be like, wait a minute, man, that sounds like that's where the truth is. See, when people take your stuff and they try to make it their own or whatever, it's not going to have the same effect as if you taught it. So there's no competition. I get a bunch of people who are always coming over to me from somebody who sold them the same information at whatever price they sold it for, and they were stuck, and they ended up having to come to me anyway. So that's what you call, what do you call an indirect referral? They didn't intend for me to get that referral, but they gave it to me because they weren't able to teach that topic correctly. You see, I listen to a lot of people in teachings, different teachings, books. But when it comes to this information on trust and correcting your status, I've learned from a lot of people, and I've also learned the lies or the misinformation. Let's put it like that. Like I was talking about yesterday, that that publication 908 that shows you really how to discharge in a bankruptcy. The instructions is right there. How are you supposed to put your information returns? Fill out your information returns. What is an information return? An information return is all your 1099s. Those are information returns. As far as let's look that up. IRS information returns. And it's just that information. It tells the IRS what transactions took place between what the entities by way of what? The EIN numbers. The employer gives out an information return, which is a W-2 on that debtor. the social. That's an information return. It's really a form that snitches on you as far as your transactions. But information returns can be a positive thing if you really know how to put it together. If you know what you're doing. And most people who are teaching about 1099s do not know anything about what to do. Have no clue. I remember when I first got into this information, I had this book called Give Yourself Credit, and I thought it was the end all be all, right? Why? Why did I think it was the end all be all? Because somebody else said, hey, that's good information. And I believed it. But when I read that book is full of deficiencies. Yeah, fill out a 1099A and 1099C and then sitting here, and then that's it. Then the IRS is supposed to do something and discharge something. Okay, I was typing in IRS information returns, right? That's what I was doing. Information return reporting. Let's look at that. Let's share the screen. Here it is. Any person engaged in trade or business, including a corporation, partnership, individual, estate, and a trust who makes reportable transactions. It doesn't say reportable income. It says reportable transactions. What's a reportable transaction? If I go and I buy a car from a dealership, and it costs $20,000 for that car, and they get a check from a bank or from me, that's a reportable transaction. I exchanged money, currency, or electronic funds transfer for the product, which is the car. That is a reportable transaction. How many of y'all ever went into a dealership and bought a car and then did your tax returns and did it 1099 after that? Oh, Akeem, no, that's not how it works. You got to do the 1099 first and then wait for them to give you the car. That's not true. I can tell you that's a lie. You know how many people I know tried that and still waiting on that car? And guess what? The dealership will take the paperwork and sit on it. Why? Why do they sit on it? Because you didn't do the first thing. You didn't even create the debt by way of your signature. Caught before the horse when you give them a 1099 and you haven't created the debt first. So you got to create the debt first, create the transaction. How can you? I'm showing y'all. I just read it. It said any person engaged in a trade or business, including a corporation, partnership, individual, estate, and trust, who makes reportable transactions during the calendar year must file information returns to report those transactions to the IRS and furnish a copy of the information returns to the recipients. So if I buy a car, well, wait a minute. Let me just go by way of the method that they teach you guys. Let me talk on that level. I want a car. I go boom, 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 and I just give them a 1099. I didn't create the transaction. I didn't complete the sale to the estate. But I want the IRS to offset it before I even created the transaction. Does that make sense? It's the same situation. Let me bring it down to a more understandable tech way of doing things, right? I am a contractor. I say I'm going to install some cabinets at your home. Boom. I charge you $20,000. to do that. Right? I installed I said, well, give me 50% of what it cost me so I could get the material. So you give me 10,000, pay me 10,000 at the end. Bam. There's the transaction right there. That's the first transaction, was the $10,000. That money exchanged hands. I went and bought the supplies. I completed the cabinets. You give me the other 10 grand. Now, what do? That's an expense, especially if your home is in a trust. That's an expense to the estate. So what do? I say, give me your, if you pay me, you should be asking me for my EIN number by way of a W-9 form. Now, I fill that out, give it to you. Now, you go, when January comes, you get to do your information return. You fill out a 1099 what? NEC. Why do you get to do that? Because a reportable transaction took place. In all commerce, in order to get credit or get proof of anything, you have to show receipts, right? So I have to create the transaction. So how did you create a transaction if you walked into a dealership and say, here's a 1099? Give me the car. That's why that method doesn't even make sense, because it's all against, it's against the IRS information reporting rules. That's why they just sit on it and wait. Okay, you did the 1099, blah, blah, blah. And you never get the car. You never created a bill of sale. You never created the debt to even offset. The IRS can't offset something that wasn't created. It doesn't work. That's why most of the time, all the time, that stuff doesn't work. You got to create the debt. You got to take delivery of the car and show that a transaction is, when I install cabinets, that customer took delivery of their product and in exchange paid me for it. Now, because they paid me for it, they get to 1099 that. I'm talking about estates. I'm not talking about you do something with your social. I'm talking about estates. Trust. Why can't I do that with a trust? Because a trust, by definition, is a business. So the trustee is transacting all business on behalf of the estate. An estate is creating expenses, and they can write those expenses off. There's so many things you could do when you're operating in trust. I can go rent property and I could write those rents off. It's not that hard to rent properties or rent your home in your trust. It's not that hard to pay your light bills by way of your trust. This is the In God We Trust show. This is why I'm talking about that. So everything's trust today. Y'all thought I was just talking about 1099 information. Yeah, well, 1099 information returns have everything to do with trust. So back to the car scenario. And it's only 6 people on. Shame. See, y'all want the excitement, the hoorah, and the that stuff like that. This is education. This is education. Let's go back to the car scenario. So I go buy a car with my trust, which I have done. I've done that. I create a note for that said car with my trust. Now, say you buy the car in December. early partial. So you can't do the 1099 process until the following tax year, which would be, say you did it in the end of December of 22. So you got to wait to 2024 tax year to do 2023's taxes. How would I write that off? How would I get that offset? I would have to send a W-9 to the company, to the bank, get that EIN. Well, actually, I would send a W-9 to the actual dealership because that's who got the money. That's where the money landed. That's where the fiat currency landed. So I got to trade those for lawful money. So I 1099, boom, get that, boom, boom, boom. I got a note also. Man, are y'all getting what I'm trying to tell y'all? Y'all can get y'all bills paid. See, how they told you all bills are prepaid. It's to understand how this really works, it's all bills are prepaid. That's a yes or no question. That's a national answer. It's like this. I did a load, my boys did a load today. And when they went to deliver it, there was something called a lumper fee of $115, right? I had to pay that. Then I get reimbursed by the broker. That's something, that's a lumper fees is something in that happens regularly in the trucking business. It's crazy. I like, wow, I gotta pay somebody to unload the truck. But hey, I guess they gotta wait for everybody to make a little money. So what I'm trying to tell y'all, if y'all got a loan on your stuff, yes, you're gonna have to be in honor and give up those fiats until you can do the 1099 to get reimbursed for those fiat currency to get your lawful money. That's how it works. See, the brokies, the people who are looking for something for nothing, some of y'all might even get offended because I said that. Fact is a fact. It's the brokies that want to grab a car without putting any skin in the game. This system is all based on exchange, methods of exchange. So what method of exchange are you exchanging if you walking in there with just a 1099 and saying, give me a car? It's not, that's just an information return telling you what transaction took place. But if a transaction didn't take place, you can't give them an information return because nothing took place other than you handing over a 1099. Do I need to read that again? Do I need to read? Let me read it again because some people are just hard-headed. Any person engaged in trade, do you understand what trade means? Trading something or business, including a corporation, partnership, individual, estate, and trust, who makes reportable transactions during the calendar year must file information returns to report these transactions. So a transaction must take place in order to do an information return. It's that simple. And if you keep reading and tell you when the form is due, blah, 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 that's just the 1099 NECs. There's other information returns out there. Information returns is just reporting what happened. Here's what happened. This is the money that exchanged. This is the transaction. So when someone walks, hey, let's do the 1099, and you didn't do a transaction, hoping, oh, IRS is going to fund it, that's just straight ignorance and ludicrousy. It's lunacy. It's crazy. And it also shows how ignorant people are because they don't read this stuff. And I fell victim to this because I believe what the ignorant people say. It's crazy. See, that's why I tell y'all to read. Don't believe anything I say. Go read exactly what I tell you to read, or if you find something else to read. But that's what I also want to talk about. Make sure you're reading information that's correct. I'm at the IRS website reading this. I'm not on some freedom platform reading their information about what is and what isn't. It's so many people who send me emails. Yo, look what's going on. Look at this. And then I look at it. It's some offshoot third party person talking about what the facts are. I don't want to read the facts about the law from them. I want to read what the law says for myself. Go to the government website and read what those laws said for yourself. Not read it from David Straight's website or these other people. A lot of these people that teaching y'all, they man, I ain't gonna go into that because I know, you know, it's crazy. I'll tell you like this. There's a named individual out there telling people to be state citizens, and how he tells in every seminar he talks about how he getting people out of jail. But right now, his wife is in jail, and he can't get out. What? On a simple weapons possession charge. And we all know that the right to bear arms is a constitutional right. Well, it's a protected right under the Constitution. Back to the trust. This is Wednesdays. The In God We Trust. This is all about trust. So, if you want to be able to use or recoup anything or discharge anything, you got to create the transaction to be discharged. I mean, doesn't that make sense? If I go into the Army, I could get either an honorable discharge or a dishonorable discharge. But what happened? I had to actually enlist in the Army to even be granted that. I go work for somebody. I can't get discharged from my job unless I actually accepted the contract and employment. So this is why this whole give 1099s and then they gonna fund your house, fund a house that you picked out. You went and picked out a house. Let me do the 1099s now and wait for them to fund it. And you didn't even create a transaction. You're doing an information return on a transaction that never happened. Y'all need to be sharing what I'm saying to all your other people who listen to this nonsense and follow it. It's all nonsense. And right now, the very people that was preaching this stuff, they was making many videos, and everybody, oh, y'all got, God bless y'all, y'all got the best information, huh? And I guarantee you, that was hundreds of broke people saying that. Broke, ignorant people who don't read. Why do they do that? Because they hoping, they're looking for their hope, their savior to get them out of their broke situation that they created themselves. They created a situation where they can't pay their mortgage, or they're behind and they're on foreclosure. They're about to get evicted. They created these things. So they're looking for a fast way out of a problem that took them time to get into. Yeah, yesterday was spiritual enlightenment. This is spiritual enlightenment here too. This is spiritually enlightening. What I'm saying is it's showing you that you must do your job and read for yourself. Not just read, but read the right information. All the information I teach comes from their laws, the laws that they created, and I decipher and show you how to use them. Like the student loan, get rid of the student loans. They have laws about debt. I read the laws about debt and figured out, wait a minute, is this what I really have, a debt? It's an alleged debt. It's an assumed debt. You assumed you still had a debt to the original creditor that you took the loan out with. No, you, and I can tell you right now, 99.9% of the time, you're not paying the person you created the contract with. Let me read y'all something. I was reading it the other day. Let me see. Hang on. Let me see. I'm gonna show y'all. This is actually all biblical. I'm gonna show you. Here it is. Here it is. I'm gonna share this with you. Break this down. Let me break it down. Break it down. All right. Stop sharing. Share something else. The kingdom of God is like a king who decided to square accounts with his servants. As he got underway, one servant was brought before him who had run up a debt of hundreds of $1,000s. Now, the king represents the original creditor, right? He couldn't pay up, so the king ordered the man, along with his wife, children, and goods, to be auctioned off at the slave market. The poor wretch threw himself at the king's feet and begged, "Give me a chance and I'll pay it all back." Touched by his plea, the king let him off, erasing the debt. The original creditor erased all of his debt. Now, let's look at this and how you do 1099s. Let me read it again. Let me show you how the 1099 fits in this scripture. It says the kingdom of heaven is like a king who decided to clear accounts with his servants as he got underway. So a transaction was created. So he said, I need to square. He used the word square accounts. And square is a Masonic term, just without going into heavy detail. Y'all heard standing on your square. He tried to square his account. Let me ask y'all a question. Those little 1099 forms, what are they? Squares. Rectangular. Okay, let me keep moving. All right. As he got underway, one servant was brought before him who had run up a debt of $100,000. That's you guys. Y'all running up debt. He couldn't pay, so you can't pay. So the king ordered the man, along with his wife, children, or goods, to be auctioned off at the slave market. How does that happen? When you don't do your 1099 and offset your debt, how are you treated like a slave? How are you auctioned off? I'm going to see if somebody get this. I want somebody in the chat to type in how, when you owe this system, how do you pay it back? Somebody type that in the chat. If you don't do your 1099s, this might be above some of y'all head. Some of y'all might be a little confused. How? Nobody got an answer in the chat? Let me see. You know, I got the live stream up too. I got the live stream up. If y'all want to get on and comment, y'all can. I got the live stream, the Telegram live stream. Let me see if I can invite. Okay, invite, copy link. The link is in the chat. what was my question was, how do you pay off your debts when you owe? Oh, they take your tax return. That's one, but there's something you do before that. See, the IRS or the Treasury is acting like the kingdom of God. That's the alter ego, or not the alter ego, the false God. Government is like a God. That, hey, y'all got to square up. Yeah, through taxes. Somebody, you have to have a trustee, right? Fill out a 1099 form. No, I'm asking you, when you can't pay your debts, how do you pay off your debts under this current system? You go to work. You slave for someone and pull a wage. So you pay it off. First of all, they take the taxes out that first off. They hit you up 20, 30%. Then after that, you pay off any debts you incur. That's it. That's it right there. Right? But the poor wretch threw himself at the king's feet in bed. Give me a chance and I'll pay it all back. Touched by his plea, the king let him off, erasing the debt. So how do you throw yourself at the feet of the king of this system? You create the transaction and you do the 1099s. That's how you erase the debt. The servant was no sooner out of the room when he came upon one of his fellow servants who owed him $10. He seized him by the throat and demanded, "Pay up now." The poor wretch, see, he didn't even get it. He got all his debt erased and he couldn't even erase $10. So what is that saying? If you get your stuff taken care of, you got to be generous to whoever who owes you. You got to set them off. You have to discharge them. Then the servant, he owed him. He seized him by the throat, demanded, "Pay up now." The poor wretch threw himself down and begged, "Give me a chance and I'll pay it all back." But he wouldn't do it. And he had him arrested and put him in jail until the debt was paid. When the other servants saw this going on, they were outraged and brought a detailed report to the king. The king summoned the man and said, "You evil servant, I forgave you your entire debt when you begged me for mercy. Shouldn't you be compelled to be merciful to your fellow servant who asked for mercy?" See, if y'all getting your stuff taken care of, how come you can't take care of somebody who owes you? See, the worst type of person is a person who owes a person a lot of money and they get their debt forgiven and they don't forgive others. And we're not just talking about money here. We're talking about other things like transgressions against you. When you look at your life and the things you've done, how many people can say that their sin is less than someone else's? Not many. I don't think anybody can do that. But some of you guys will not forgive someone, but you want to be forgiven. That's the other side of this lesson. But back to the 1099s. So he did this, and the king came back and he said, "Oh." The king summoned the man and said, "You evil servant, I forgave your entire debt when you begged me for mercy. Shouldn't you be compelled to be merciful to your fellow servant who asked for mercy?" The king was furious and put the screws to the man until he paid back his entire debt. So just because you can get your stuff discharged doesn't mean that they can't come back on you. And I'm going to give you an example. This is a real live. I'm not going to say any names. People who've gotten their stuff discharged. But guess what they tried to do? They got greedy. They tried to cash in on a birth certificate. They tried to do all these other stuff. And then guess what? Government said, "Oh, you greedy, an ungrateful slave." I forgave your debt. Now you're going to owe me 10 times that amount. I've seen that happen. All because they kept trying to go back and do all this other crazy processes. See, if you're going to get your stuff discharged, be grateful. This stuff is not for people to be greedy and try to create to floss with. It's a very simple and precise method to this. And unfortunately, people have thrown their convoluted beliefs systems in it and made it look complicated when it really wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was very simple. It took me a while to get to this point, to read through all of these things before I could confidently get on here and tell y'all that this is simple. Less is always more. Simple is always the truth. Lies are always complicated. And they take on many forms and words and illusions. Now, if y'all really want to understand how to do this whole process, I mean, I'm 3 years, almost 4 years in it. I mean, you add in, well, I was doing the lessons once a week, and then I went to bi-weekly. So I have probably over 70 videos or more with questions and answers and how to do this whole process successfully. I've had people this year and last year who've gotten 3 or 4 mortgages paid off, living free, happy. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Yes, that is the Lord's Prayer. That has a spiritual, esoterical, and it also has a commercial meaning to it. 1099s, 1041s are the way to, and bankruptcy, Chapter 11 is the way to forgiveness of debts. It's the way. But in order to do it properly, you have to create the transaction. You have to have something to talk about. And that's all information returns are. They talk about what happened. They explain the situation that actually happened. I know I keep repeating myself. Going in and handing the 1099 and hoping that they're going to hand over a car or a house, you didn't do anything. You didn't complete a transaction. You didn't fill out. You didn't get a bill of sale. You didn't get a title. You didn't actually sign off on a note that the Treasury can exchange for lawful money. You didn't do it right. Hello from Texas. Trust. In God we trust. If y'all haven't thought about setting up your trust, you need to get it done. The window is closing. Let me add on, before I close out this show tonight. This is a great time for letting these people know who you really are. Because it's right on the heels of, look at what the LGBTQ community did. They came out with civil rights and equal this, and they took those things that was meant for one group of people to flourish, and turned it or flipped it on his head. Now is I could call myself whatever, and you have to respect that. Okay. I'm not upset with them. They can do whatever they want. But I tell you this, it's a huge opportunity for anybody that want to correct their status. How are they going to turn you down when you go into court and tell them this is who I am? This is who I identify it. It's right there for you on a platter. All these years of they're going back and forth with these entities, now they're rolling over and allowing you in without a problem now. No questions now, because what did the Bible say? That God will put it into their minds to do his will. He put it in his mind, put it in their idea through some crazy ideal that they come up with. Do y'all see it? Yeah, let them talk about that crazy stuff, because this crazy stuff is going to lead to this other stuff that my people can get out of this system with. Here it is. I'm going to read another one. And this is going to trip y'all out. This one is also in the Bible. I want to read the whole scripture. It's Matthew chapter 24. It was like when Christ was talking about the things to look out for. And let's see. Chapter. Let's go. It's 24. Let's share the screen. Did I share this? Share this one. Make sure y'all can see that. Starting your student loan. I'll remove that. Nope. That's what I want to share. Not the student loan stuff. All right. It said, at that time, if anyone said to you, look, here is the Christ, or there, this is 23 and reading, there he is, do not believe, for false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders that would deceive even the elect, if that were possible. See, and that's not the one. That's not the right. Oh no, this is it. Why does it look weird? Chapter 24. It's verse 50. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination of desolation described by the prophet Daniel, let the reader use discernment. Now let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let no one on the housetop come down to retrieve anything from his house, and let no one in the field return for his cloak. It says, when you see this, in a holy place, the abomination of desolation. What do you see now? They got trans pastors, everything going on, and what is supposed to be holy, which is totally against Christianity. Like Christianity teaches as a set of teachings, and everything they're doing is opposite of that. So it's basically, when you start seeing these things, it's time to get out. It's a flee. Get away. Don't even get out of there. Why are y'all still in these churches, man? Why y'all still? I mean, y'all could do what y'all want, but I'm telling you, even the very Bible that they gave you to learn from is telling you to get out based on what's going on now. They didn't stand up for you for your rights when we had those issues a couple of years ago, without me saying actually what it was. That being direct, they didn't. Your places of worship didn't stand up for you. I done moved from 1099 churches. They let that stuff ride out. You restricted your worship. Why? simply because they didn't have an "In God We Trust." They didn't set up things right. They set up 501c3s, which in turn put them directly under the control of the government and not under God. You see the abomination in holy places now, all over the place. So this is the time for you to do your stuff and get out. Separate yourself. Remember, Christ, what church did he belong to? He taught outside the church. And whenever he referred to the religious leaders, he didn't speak very well of them. He also didn't speak very well of lawyers. I'll read this scripture another time and teach you on this one. It's almost 8. Well, it's almost 9. Y'all got to get. I mean, everything's right in front of you. I mean, things are happening now. Like, are we really talking about this? Are we really trying to say that anybody can call themselves a woman now? Are we really doing it? Are we really having this conversation? That's how crazy it is. And let me tell y'all something. Let me show y'all something. And y'all probably dealing with this in your house or see it in friendships and stuff. Do you notice that people are just doing things and you're looking at them like, how the hell do they think that that's the right thing to do? Where is their mind? It's happening. Why? Because we're in these types of times where the energy of chaos is rampant. And if your mind is connecting to chaotic situations, watching chaotic things, you're going to be right there on that brainwave and you're going to experience that chaos. All right. I didn't drink anything today on purpose because I knew I could do without it at times. But I hope this helped the trust and what, you guys got to set up your trust. Got to get your status corrections corrected. Got to do all that. Akimel.com can help you do it. I did go up on a membership. It's pretty, it's up there. I did go up there. Sorry. I had that membership at $1,500 for the longest. Now with so much content and everything that I'm throwing in there, I mean, it's way worth more than that, what I'm charging right now. Especially if you can write off your mortgage, especially if I'm showing you how to get rid of student loans and thousands of dollars of debt. $49.97 is a drop in the bucket when you look at it. When you look at what you're gaining from it. I know the people that are in my membership now are thankful now that this doesn't cost that much. They didn't pay that much. Why? Because they were the people who helped me create the content to get it to where it is today. So the reward was that low price, and now the information is there. The techniques have been proven over and over again. Just the status correction part alone, correcting your nationality through your passport, is priceless. And when I do this seminar, all I say, y'all probably need to be there. DJ said, hell yeah, I got him when I got it. I know, DJ. And I know people who paid $5,000 or more for stuff that just sitting there looking at them and doing nothing. What the membership offers? Nationality, trust, 1041s, how to handle your IRS issues properly. If you over $50,000 in debt, you need to be contacting me with the IRS. You need to be talking to me so we can get that handled so you can get a passport. Got issues with child support. You need to be child support. You need to be contacting me. All of that's in there. And then the classes that we have, the discussions. All right. Let me remind you guys. Oh, hey. Hindsight Radio, Church of Infinite Abundance, Akeem Barber Church. We could use some donations to help keep this stuff running. This stuff costs money. Everything I do, it costs to keep this running. And when you give, you get back multiplied. Always give with intentions. Always give with intentions to get back, multiply what you get back, give. Yeah, he said, oh yeah, Social Security card correction, driver's license correction. I mean, come on. Credit repair. Everything's in there. Yeah, most of them y'all have to go to this place to get your credit repaired. You got this together. And then my business partner I met, he got a very good solution. Right, he's in the lab phase where he's doing stuff so that he can teach it. So that's gonna be the person I'm gonna send y'all to. If y'all really need y'all credit fixed, he'll handle that for you and take care of that. Once you get out of the lab phase, which is going to be very soon. Very soon. What else? Oh, I was about to show the there it is. July 22nd, 23rd. Show up. Akeem and Al Bay gonna be breaking it down. It's just some of the stuff we're going to talk about. 1099 recoupment process. I call it recoupment, but it's really discharge. National passport process, organizing your state, religious unincorporated association, Sesta K business trust. I got to start working on my slides. I'm going to get a lot more organized this one. Well, I think that was a hell of a show with a lot of information for the last hour. So, when I start these shows, sometimes I don't even know if I can make it an hour. I'm like, okay, you're going to be able to explain this stuff in an hour. But then when I'm talking, all of a sudden, the ancestors, God, everybody just be throwing information in my head. Here, go look this up. Boom, boom, boom. And there it is. You got a show. All right. With that being said, peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth. This life that we're in is a sleep phase. This is an individual walk. This is not, even if you're married, this is an individual walk. You gotta make the commitment. And once you make the commitment, guess what? A spiritual family will show up.